Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video, and no, I am not in a far-flung country walking along the sunny beach. I am instead down here on the south coast in Brighton. I am on the beach and it is absolutely sweating. I've pulled myself away from the pub for 10 minutes to talk to you guys, and I will take a seat, talk to you guys about the big game tomorrow, and it is a big one. Fulham didn't do us any favours earlier on today against Aston Villa. And we have never beaten Brighton at the Amex in the Premier League. I have been here once before. I did it in a day. I got down here, watched us lose 1-0, and then I went home. So I'm hoping for something a little bit different. I am here tonight, I'm here tomorrow, and hopefully I can have a few beers and celebrate something tomorrow. I tell you what, a point, I would take it. Let me know your predictions down in the comments below. Eddie Howe did his press conference yesterday where he spoke about the game, but he also spoke about transfers. He also spoke about PSR and how teams took advantage of us last time around, but this time he wants us to look out and try and take advantage of other teams. Yankuba Minter, could he possibly feature in tomorrow's game? We'll have to wait and find out. Sold him for 30+ million. As it happens, and look, I was as gutted as a lot of Newcastle fans were when he was basically forced out the club without even having a chance to play a game yet. On the face of it, for how he's done this season, it's looking like maybe it wasn't the worst deal in the world. But still, I don't think Eddie Howe's got over Elliot Anderson either. I actually hope that Forest and us can be in the Champions League. Obviously, it's very, very tight, and it's rather us than it was them. But I would love to see the likes of Chris Wood and Elliot Anderson, especially a Joy lad who basically got pushed to still get his chance playing in the top European competition. So, as I say, big one tomorrow. I think I would take the point now. We haven't got a great track record. We haven't got a great track record down on the south coast, to be honest. I think it's because when we get down here, there's too many pubs, bars, and everyone's having too much fun to play the game. I'm hoping not. But yes, thoughts and comments on the game down below. And as I say, Eddie Howe was very, very strong in his comments on transfers yesterday. I mean, I will go as far to say that actually the press conference, they need to talk about the football a little bit more. I appreciate it. And I'm doing a video now on the comments that Eddie Howe made that were not to do with the football game, but we know Eddie Howe wasn't well. We know that it was a very, dangerous illness that he had. We know that we're excited for transfers, but imagine if we asked Eddie Howe maybe more than 2 or 3 questions about the game at the weekend. So, yeah, not that I don't think the journalists in our area are pretty good, to be honest, and I don't watch any other press conferences than ours, so I can't really compare. But what I will say was, yeah, just let off on Eddie. 30 minutes of cracking on about whether he's feeling better or not, I think is a little bit much. But as I say, he was asked about transfers, and we all know what happened. Newcastle were basically poached for PSR reasons. Clubs who've overspent or having to meet a deadline to avoid points losses. As I say, letting go of Yankuba Minter, I think, upset the club and it upset a lot of the fans. And then I think Elliot Anderson in particular was one that Eddie Howe was not happy with. We've gone on to this point 3 transfer windows without improving our starting 11. Look, I think Asula looks like he can be a player, but John Ruddy and a few others to add on isn't what we want. And what we want to see is a big transfer window. And I think Eddie Howe does as well. Eddie Howe has always been so careful with what he says in press conferences, always trying to be very correct, not wanting to overdo it or overstep. I think Eddie was fairly fiery in the press conference yesterday, and I think it's because 2 things. I think it's because it's got to a point now where Newcastle need to move, and the other point is I think that Eddie Howe is almost trying to lay the ground ahead of himself. Eddie Howe, I think, in previous pre-match talks has always been very much, well, we'll see what happens when we get there, and hopefully we'll have the money, and if we fight like Eddie Howe has always been very much, I'm not going to say anything because maybe I don't 100% know, or I don't want to land myself in it if I get it wrong. He's now like saying that he wants to go out and make sure we do it this time. And I think he's kind of putting the pressure on the club. I think Eddie Howe has always kind of protected the club with his comments because he doesn't want to say something that's going to bite him in the backside. But I think now he's kind of really pushing it out there. So what he said was, it's a really interesting dynamic and one that we are really aware of and that we'll try to use to our advantage if we can. I can't go into the detail, but no doubt we've got people at the club who are working very hard behind the scenes. I made it clear last year that it's almost two transfer windows now. The PSR deadline plays a huge role for clubs, both those clubs with PSR issues and without. Because those without may potentially look to try and sign players, that we will take advantage of other clubs as other clubs did to us last year, quite rightly. So that's not Eddie Howe saying, oh, well, we'll see how it goes. We'll see whether the money's there. That's Eddie Howe coming out and saying that we are going to target teams to try and pick up some deals, pick up some players at good prices, like they did with Elliot Anderson and like they did with Yankuba Minter. Now, there's two teams that are being talked about and two players in particular. Well, to be honest, I say two. I think there'll be more than two teams in for the PSR, but one of them is Aston Villa. I mean, big up Aston Villa, big up Aston Villa, sob on the tyne and all that. Not my favourite club, I'll be honest, but sob on the halt, I should say. But they're a team who are fighting like we are to try and break the hierarchy, trying to break into the top 4, top 6, top whatever, trying to be amongst and trying to compete, just trying to compete, and they have done that. How they've managed to go and get Rashford on loan for the wages he was on in the January, how they've gone Asensio, well, I do know actually, by breaking PSR, or very close to the line on PSR. Big rumours actually coming out that Rodgers, by all means, as far as I'm aware, fantasy football manager Rodgers, the lad who came in from, did he come in from Manchester City, or he was at City, but he's now at Aston Villa? The rumours are that they could be looking to let go of him for 100 million plus. Now, let's not forget it. They did that with Coutinho, did a full rebuild, and then, no, they didn't. That was Liverpool. They bought Coutinho when he was old and haggard. Sorry, everyone. That was a slip of the tongue. We've seen it done before, I should say. We've seen it done before. We've seen teams let players go and do a full rebuild with a good chunk of money. If they let Rodgers go for 100 million plus, they're going to sort PSR out and get straight onto it. And again, this is what Darren Eales talks about, player trading. Rodgers, is that a player Newcastle could go for? I think probably not. I think the price tag's probably too high for a player who doesn't fit our system. But I have to say I do like him. And just while we're quickly touching on player trading as well, Eddie Howe, once again, pulled no punches in this one, was asked about Sean Longstaff, who again, I feel like he ultimately is asked to defend players and over what's going on with Willock, what's going on with Wilson, what's going on with Longstaff. Well, the comments on Longstaff were interesting. He said Sean has a contract next year, so the control is very much in his hands. So he didn't say, I would love to keep him. He's going, oh, well, it's up to Sean. But we are certainly delighted to have him as one of our players. I don't think I have to motivate him. I shouldn't have to motivate him. He's representing his club. He's rated for a chance. He's motivated. He's brilliant behind the scenes. And he's good in training. So I feel like, again, Eddie Howe was a little bit diplomatic on that one. Less so. Not just, oh, yeah, Sean Longstaff, we'll love him. We'll keep him forever. It was like, it's up to Sean. He's got a year left. So interesting. But another team that's being talked about PSR, it's getting a little bit windy, so hopefully the audio still sounds okay, is Bournemouth. Actually, Bournemouth is a team that's been linked to having PSR issues. Now, Huyson is a player that we've already spoken about. They reckon that a lot of teams are going to be interested in him. And funnily enough, and I saw this in the comments, Gahey, that's still a name that's getting talked about. Huyson, even he has said he doesn't want a saga because he, I think, is ready to go. I think there's teams willing to pay the fee that Bournemouth want. It's about getting the deal with the club he wants to go to and moving on. And it's thought that Newcastle may actually take a back seat in that one because they don't want to be involved in a fight for a player. However, a player that we are interested or reportedly in is Semenyo, who, interestingly enough, as I walked out the pub there, wasn't starting for Bournemouth against Arsenal today, so I don't know what's going on with him. But there's a few players there, there's a few teams there. I think we found ourselves in a great spot, as it's reported. We don't have PSR issues, other teams have, and I think that's something we should look to take to our advantage. But I think the biggest thing for me is that how brazen and forward Eddie Howe has been about the whole thing. I think that's one of the first times really of late, or maybe ever, that Eddie Howe's come out and gone, yes, I've made it clear. We didn't do enough. He's like saying, like as if he's talking to the board through the journalists, I made it clear. We've had 2 windows now where we didn't do enough. This one has to be the one where we do something. And I think as much as whether it's PSR, teams or whatever, it's Eddie Howe kind of putting it to the board, putting it to Big Yass, putting it to Darren Eales and saying, look, I'm not going to let you hide behind me. I'm going to tell them how I think it should be, and it's your guys' job to back me. As these lovely lads try and get in the video. Don't think they're Newcastle fans, so we'll leave them out. Thank you for watching. Thoughts and comments down below. As I say, predictions ahead of the Brighton game tomorrow. I'm going to go back in the pub where I won't burn. But yeah, it is a big one. I think I would take a point now, to be honest, because they're a decent. I think we could beat anyone on our day. Don't get me wrong. And 2 hours before the game, when I'm fueled on, I was going to say lager, but Stellas, who knows? Red Bulls. We can hopefully get the job done. But thoughts and comments, thoughts on the transfer window, the chance of us this time around being the ones in charge of PSR and making it worth our while. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.